There is still more to this story, however. So let's have a look at this. Why are 7 inverted nuns? I've just put a picture of 7 nuns, but it's not that sort of nun. Why are 7 nuns listed in Psalm 107? We will look at the letter nun and the possible meaning of the inverted nun later. But let us first look at the meaning of the 7 as it relates to this portion of Psalm 107. Okay, so here are the nuns. So a normal nun goes the other way around. I'll show you that later. But there's 7 of them, and here I've got verse 25, not verse 26. So there's 7 in total. 6 here, and then the 7th day. Like the 7th day is separate from the other 6. These are the days of work, but this is the Sabbath. Let's have a look at the number 7. There are 7 nuns and inverted nuns in Psalm 107. There are 7 days of creation. There are 7 feasts. There are 7 times around Jericho, 7 churches, 7 weeks leading to Pentecost. The 7th year is the sabbatical year. 7 times 7 sabbatical years plus 1 equals the Jubilee, 50. And that's the numeric value of Nun. Nun is 50. There are 120 Jubilees, which equals 6,000 years till the final flood. But this is not a flood of water. This is well, no, the earth is reserved for fire, but this is when Satan is cast out of heaven, the final time. In a sense, Lucifer fell from heaven and rose again as Satan, as the adversary, as the dragon. He's the dragon. If you look at the northern hemisphere, the pole star, the constellation around it is Draco, and then you have the small and big dipper relate to the flock. And Satan is there accusing the flock, the brethren. The zodiac signs, the 12 signs of the zodiac represent the 12 tribes. You have Leo, the lion. You have Aquarius, the man, unstable as water, was related to Reuben. Leo, the lion, related to Judah. We have Taurus, the ox, the bull, and then we have the Ophiuchus, the serpent handler, that also can be pictured as an eagle, which has one foot on a serpent and another one on Scorpio, and it's in the constellation of Scorpio. It's related to the tribe of Dan. So we have in the zodiac a picture, and all of those signs of the zodiac are 3 signs apart. So 3 lots of 4 is 12. So they make up the sign of the cross. They make up the heavenly encampment, which Israel down here is pictured as that same encampment in Numbers chapter 2. And in the centre of that is the tabernacle. And right in the centre of that tabernacle in heaven is Satan accusing the brethren before the ark where the Son of Man is seated. I'll talk about that later. 7 is thus related to the creation week time and the purpose of creation. So the fact that we have 7 nuns mentioned there is a hint to say, hey, this stuff about the tempest, the sea, the raging waters going to the sea in ships is actually related to these 7 days of creation and a great struggle that's going on. So what is in the sea and what does the sea represent? Well, we know that the sea represents nations, and what is in the sea? Leviathan is in the sea, and the fish are in the sea, and the disciples are in a boat. This will start to make sense as I move forward. Okay, so we read in Genesis 2, "Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them, and the 7th day God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the 7th day from his work which he had made. And God blessed the 7th day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God had created and made." And the 7th day is related to Israel. The 7th day is a sign between me and America? No. Between me and Israel? Yes. It's a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. So it's a sign between me and the house of Israel and the house of Judah, and it's not a sign between me and anybody else. That's pretty exclusive. So the 7th day, we know that the 1,000-year millennial reign, the 7th day of 1,000 years, the King will reign on earth, Yeshua, with his bride, the church of the firstborn, which is Zion. We're told that in Hebrews. You are come to Jerusalem, the heavenly Mount Zion, or heavenly Jerusalem, Mount Zion. So that's what we are a part of. So whether we're Messianic or not, we're actually all Zionists if we're born of him. We're from that heavenly Mount Zion. And indeed, we're from that heavenly Mount Zion even if we're physically not from Israel. Okay, now in Leviticus 23, we read, God introduced the feasts by first telling us about the 7 days of creation, because the 7 days of creation are related to the 7 feasts. Okay, I'm not going to read through all of this, but essentially he introduced the feasts with saying that, hey, in 6 days work shall be done, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of rest. And then he says, these are the feasts of the Lord. So the feasts of the Lord are related to the 7 days of creation. Why is all this important? Because this is God's prophetic program. And it's related to being on the sea in a ship. We are in a sea that we can't see. We're in a cosmos that is actually hostile to us. We are like fish out of water, but we're in water, but it's not our water. It's another water. It's a water of the enemy. Now, God has a plan of redemption, and we see that hinted with the men going around Jericho. Now, Jericho was straightly shut up because of the children of Israel. None went out and none came in. And the Lord said unto Joshua, Yehoshua, see, I have given into thine hand Jericho. Remember Yerich? That was where he placed his hand. That's where Abraham's servant placed his hand. And that's where the thigh of Jacob, the thigh is Yerich. Okay, so this is all related to that. Essentially what happens is that there is this place called Jericho where the walls fall down flat. This prophetically happens when we have the 4 horsemen loosed in the apocalypse. The 4 horsemen are sent on a one-way trip. You know, the white horse, the red horse, the pale horse and the black horse. They're sent on a one-way trip. Where do they come from? They come from heaven. But they're not returning. I think it's in Zechariah we read about the walls of the temple, and they're not. And it says the 4 walls in the King James, but it doesn't say that in the Hebrew. It says the 4 winds of the temple. So the actual 4 walls are called 4 ruachs, 4 spirits. So there's the link to the 4 horsemen. So the 4 horsemen relate to the outer walls, and Jericho is a picture of the heavenly encampment. But it's corrupted. So we read in the Torah that if a house has got mildew in it, you scrape the stones, but if you can't get rid of the mildew, you're to remove the stones. And if you can't remove all the stones and save the house, you're to destroy the house. Well, this is what's happening in heaven, that the heavenly temple, which is the hierarchy of angelic thrones and principalities and powers, is actually being cut down. 1/3 of them lose their place. And these 4 horsemen are part of that fall. And as they're coming down, they are bringing destruction and God's judgments upon the earth. Later on, Satan himself falls with the rest of the angels. So what happens in the book of Revelation is really super heavenly stuff. And we're not there yet, but we're moving towards those days and with increasing speed. So when we're reading about this, they go around 7 times, and then on the 7th day the priests shall bear the ark and 7 trumpets. There's a link to the book of Revelations, the trumpets, and the year of Jubilee, when debts are set free. So the number 7 is about redemption, and 7 lots of 7 is 49. And then add a day and we have 50. The year of Jubilee is the 50th year. And when they blow the ram's horns, it's Ha-Yobalim. There's the word Jubilee, built into the name for the ram's horns. And it shall come to pass that when they make a long blast with the ram's horn, and when ye hear the sound of the trumpet, all the people shall shout with a great shout, and the wall of the city shall fall down flat, and the people shall ascend up, every man straight before him. Ascension. And Joshua the son of Nun called the priests and said unto them, Take up the ark of the covenant, and let 7 priests bear 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark of the Lord. Can we remember 7 angels with 7 trumpets? It's all related. So 7 is related, so we've seen that 7 is related to 7 days of creation, 7 feasts, and then 7 times around Jericho. And it's to do with judgment. God is going to deal with this sea that is hostile to us. But let's continue. John, to the 7 churches which are in Asia, grace be unto you, and peace from him which is, and which was, and which is to come, and from the 7 spirits which are before his throne, saying, I am Alpha and Omega, the first and the last, and what thou seest, write in a book and send it to the 7 churches which are in Asia, and to Ephesus and Smyrna and Pergamos and Thyatira and Sardis and Philadelphia and Laodicea. The mystery of the 7 stars which thou sawest in thy right hand, and the 7 golden candlesticks. The 7 stars are the 7 angels and the 7 churches of 7 churches. And the 7 candlesticks which thou sawest are the 7 churches. Okay, now we're going to start to wrap this little bit up. We have the Feast of Weeks. And ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that ye brought the sheaf of the wave offering, 7 Sabbaths shall be complete, even unto the Sabbath, and even unto the morrow after the 7th Sabbath shall ye number 50 days, and ye shall offer a new meat offering unto the Lord. So the Feast of Weeks is related to 7, and it's the middle feast. So we have 7 feasts, and it's related. As we'll see shortly. 7 inverted nuns suggest a connection between going to the sea in ships in Psalm 107 and the week of creation. The 7 nuns relate to the 7 feasts and 7 weeks leading to Pentecost. Thus, they also suggest that this connection also touches on the whole purpose of redemption and getting the passengers of the ship safely to shore via Torah, and then writing it upon their heart by the gospel. Thus, this will reach its apex when the New Testament comes in its fullness on a future Yom Kippur midway through the tribulation, Revelation 12. This is when the spiritual flood comes to the earth from Satan falling from heaven. This paradoxically causes the bride to rise to her groom. Yeshua the bride hastens to the wilderness and to her Saviour.